I'm here with Grace VanHoy, our 2022 World Armlifting Champion at 60 kilos. How does that sound, Grace? How do you like that ring to that?
It sounds pretty good. It feels like an alter ego to the mostly nerd I am.
Well, you're a strong nerd, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what have you been up to this summer, Grace? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to, and then we'll talk more about lifting in just a second.
Yeah. So mostly been surviving my really hot garage gym. So have learned to enjoy working out in 95-degree hot garage, which is a new experience for me. I had a nicer setup at the last place I was at, but so working out and doing a lot of work at the vet hospital. So lots of sick livestock coming through, trying to fix them
Yeah.
up.
For those people who don't know Grace, she is living proof that climate change is real. And she lives outside of Sacramento, and it is very steamy there, triple
Yeah.
digits most days in the summer. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So,
Yeah.
why don't you talk to the audience here about how you've seen arm lifting change? You've been at it now for a few years, probably 4 years, 5 years. You've been competing, especially the women's division. Why don't you comment on how it's changed and how you think it's going to change in the future?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It for me, it's exploded in a good way. So I was trying to think back about when I started, and I just randomly went into a gym and and I think they had an axle and they had a Rolling Thunder grip there. And I was like, what are these things? And they're like, oh, you are a rock climber. I bet you would enjoy this. And I remember picking it up, and then things kind of just worked out in the way life does sometimes. And I ended up with the Saffles at their East Ohio Grip Championship, Volume 2. So I made it the second year they had it. And I was trying to think back, I think that was 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was 2018. And then just met this incredible community of really fun and supportive people. And that was huge for me. That's probably 90% of the reason I enjoy doing arm lifting is for the community. But, you know, as a 60-kilo person, it's kind of hard to find competition. And now it's just like all of these women are joining, and it is awesome. I mean, you and I were talking about a couple new recruits in my weight category, which is really, really exciting. I am pumped to meet all of these women.
Oh, I think there'll be plenty of people descending upon Orlando, Florida
Yes.
in the first weekend in November.
Yeah.
No, it's so exciting how it's growing. I mean, we had 40 women compete in the Super Series round one, which is it destroys our past participation. It's
Yeah.
very exciting. And I'm sure we'll have many more compete once they hear and try and see how fun arm lifting is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
Agreed.
remember our first meeting was in San Luis Obispo at a gym, Andrew Wickham's gym in
Yes.
2019,
Yeah,
just
that's right.
just days before I had my heart attack and
Yeah,
subsequent open heart
that's
surgery.
right. I was
So
like, I didn't even know. And then we didn't know each other that well. And I was like, well, maybe he didn't want to be friends.
yeah,
It turns
or
out you were just fighting for your life.
yeah,
No big deal.
another no big deal. Another day at the office. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So unfortunately, I've had too many days like that at the office, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
luck and being in good shape and having some
yeah.
faith, all of it conspired to keep me going, and here I am. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to stage 2, and also looking forward, obviously, to Orlando in November. What are your plans for the future in terms of arm lifting? What's on your calendar?
Yeah, so looking forward to being at your house for stage 2. And then just planning on going to Orlando already. I think Anna said she would be my roommate. So
Oh, cool.
hopefully she watches this because we need to book our hotel room. um, and really looking forward to seeing some new faces there in the 60 kg category, I think, which will be awesome. And then, this next year, I think I am really, unfortunately, need to spend some time working on the Saxon bar. It is my worst enemy with small hands, but the other 60 kg women are putting up some really good numbers. So that is going to be my focus. I'm always focused on axle because I love it, but you can't always just work on the things that you love.
No, you're 100% correct. And
Yeah.
in fact, just to show you, I've put my money where my mouth is. Vertical lifts are my Achilles heel, and I'm putting them in every competition
I
from now
love
on
them. So I
because
approve.
yes, well, thanks, boss.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, that's what it takes. It takes peer pressure to get you to
Oh,
work on the
yeah.
stuff you're not as good at.
I know.
So
I'm pumped.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why don't you describe for the viewers at home who weren't there, describe what it's like to lift at the Arnold, especially on the stage that we had, and
Yeah.
talk about, never ever in history have we had all those that talented group of women that we had together. Why don't you talk the audience through who wasn't there just how it felt?
Yeah. So that was my first Arnold ever, which is embarrassing. I had never even been to it as a spectator because I lived in Columbus for 11 years. So that was a little embarrassing. So it was my first time and I didn't know what to expect. And as many of us that compete in arm lifting know, a lot of our competitions are super accessible, which is great, but we do them kind of, all over where we can. It's a big hangout and a group of awesome people, but it's infrequent that we get to these large competitions all together. And so I remember walking in to the Arnold and I kept asking everyone, do you know where arm lifting is? And they're like, oh yeah, it's in the back over there. And I was like, well, that's typical. Here we are shoved in the back. And then I got to that stage and I was like, whoa, this is a big deal. And it was kind of quiet in the morning. And then throughout the day, it just started building, which was wild. I've never really competed like that before in front of all these people, but the energy in the crowd was great. And I think we just kept grabbing all these people that hadn't even heard of it, but they're walking in the door in the back and seeing that as the first thing, like high up on the stage. And these amazing human beings who, as you know, a lot of us are unconventional looking lifters and we're putting up these huge numbers. And it was just really fun to watch people who just had no idea this sport existed, watch all of these people just put up amazing numbers. And just having a huge crowd was super, it pumped me up way more than it would in your garage. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Grace, I think the fire department would be mad if there were 1,000 people in my garage.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was such
energy. Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing, and to be part of that, and literally we had 1,000 people there for the women's contest. All throughout the 2 hours.
Wild. Yeah.
It was amazing, and people were just sitting down and camping out, and then that drew more people in, and it just became a big spectacle. And then with Sarah and Gabby hitting those world record deadlift, trading it back and forth, that just really pumped. Fun. Yeah, that just pumped people up even more. It was pretty amazing, and it was great to be, right there in the thick of the action. Yeah. Watching and celebrating the amazing lifting that was going on. What advice would you give? Because you got to understand, there are people who are going to watch this video that are thinking about competing. They're thinking about trying it. They're thinking about buying it. Maybe they've even bought some of the implements and they're training them at home or in their gym bag or whatever, but they haven't gone to a contest yet. What advice would you give to those women who fit in that category I just described?
Yeah, that's a really good question. and one I feel uniquely positioned to answer because I have never really competed much, outside of like high school sports.
Mhm.
So this was my first time competing in a physical sport, and I was so nervous. I didn't know what to expect. It was a little intimidating knowing that these people were really good lifters. But I can't stress enough that these competitions are really accessible for most people. They're easy to get to. They're low key for the most part, and everybody there. The second part I wanted to say is everyone is incredibly supportive. I haven't met one person in arm lifting, even as we've grown and grown and grown, that isn't right there like cheering for you. They met you today and you're in the same weight category. Like it doesn't matter. And that was a huge draw for me. I mean, I was with the Saffels and the Dingies my first time, and I was like, wow, these people are so welcoming and they want to see me do well. So it was not intimidating at all, even for someone who's not really competed in physical sports like that before. So I love it. Can't stress
Yeah.
it enough.
No, I think it's great. And I think that energy that you have towards arm lifting, the other people who are rookies or new or a little bit timid, they
Yeah.
just got to go for it. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people have emailed me, DM'd me, called me, hey, I want to do it. Just go for it. And I
Yeah.
try to set them up with a person or people that would help give them a good start forward.
Yes.
But
A good
um,
mentor, arm lifting mentor.
I try,
Yeah.
but they, someone in their region that can at least help them. But I agree with you. They got to just go for it because life is
Yeah.
short, and who knows?
Yes.
They might be super good and not even know what they're doing.
Yeah, I didn't think I was gonna be good. It's some sort of lifting sport, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So I know you have a super busy work as a chief veterinarian at UC Davis with the large animals, but do you have any plans in the future to maybe travel to another country to lift or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. Especially hearing about all your own travels. And it was ironic. I think I qualified for my first big competition was St. Petersburg in 2020. And we all know how that went. So I was super pumped, and hopefully I can travel again because and we've had some people from other countries come already to our competitions. I mean, there were quite a few at the Arnold, and it was so fun. They were exactly the same as all of the American and Canadian competitors I've met, just super supportive, really strong, just excited to be there. So I love traveling, and I would 100% love to go to somewhere wild to pick some heavy things up and put them back down again.
That is outstanding. Here's a news flash for you. Team Chile is gonna come to
Ooh.
Orlando. Yes,
Oh,
they're gonna have
wow.
yeah, they're gonna have a qualifying contest in August, and then they're gonna make a selection based on the qualifying contest, and they're gonna I think send 4 or 5 people
Oh, that
to
is awesome.
Florida. Yeah, it's great.
Oh,
So,
cool.
I think half of Canada is going to come
Yeah.
to Florida. Besides being warm, the Canadians took home a whole haul of medals last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
there are some
strong. They're strong up there.
very underlined,
Yes.
very strong. So I think we'll see a whole host of Canadians, and then I imagine I've already had some feelers out from some of the Europeans that we'll see some new people.
Cool.
Um, yeah, I have some Spanish people, Polish people. They've all expressed interest. So
Very good.
yeah, there's still 3-ish months, 13 weeks before November. It really
Ugh.
doesn't sound like much.
Don't tell me the amount of weeks.
Okay.
That means I have to
But
train
it's
harder.
yeah, it's gonna be I think really good. And we're in a super exciting location, Grace. And that one we're dead center in the middle
Oh,
of the building.
wow.
Yeah,
Dang.
our reputation is starting to get out there for providing a good show, and the meet organizers, They put us right in the middle, and it was not an accident. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drew up the stage and stuff. I think it's going to be super exciting. So,
Very cool.
yeah. Any last words for the end of our show here? Anything else you would like to comment outside of maybe getting an air conditioning company to donate an air conditioner for your garage gym?
Yeah. If anyone wants to sponsor Grace VanHoy's Garage Gym, I'd be happy. But I just wanted to add, I'm sure I've said it a million times, but this sport has been just an amazing part of my life that I never expected. And it's mostly because of the people involved. So thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome, Grace. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, or to have you make the 6-hour trek down to my house to lift.
Yes.
As you know, there's always a spot for you here. So thank you so much. Go heal some animals, or
I
take a
will.
rest. Take a rest and
Yeah.
enjoy the 100-degree weather in
Oh, I
Sacramento.
will. Yeah. Thank you, Ricardo. Thanks for having me on the show.